Well, at this point, given what the entire league has said about his trade value, about his future as a starting quarterback, he almost by default has turned into an underdog. But he, of course, does not look at himself as an underdog. And you have to totally understand why. Cam Newton, his entire life, basically every room he's ever walked into, he's been the most successful person, the most talented person, almost always the best looking person. The last decade, he's also been the most accomplished and the wealthiest person. When that's the normal for you, you don't look at yourself as an underdog. You look at yourself as the overwhelming favorite in all circumstances, especially when you've achieved at the level that Cam has, winning at every level imaginable and coming this close to winning as a pro. It reminded me, Wilds, of LeBron James in his first year back in Cleveland during the playoff run. Even after Kevin Love was out and Kyrie's knee was bothering him, he was asked at a press conference about being an underdog. And he said, who, me? An underdog? No. And I think Cam has a similar mentality, Kevin. So I don't expect him to view himself as an underdog, Wilds.
I think he's got a little underdog in him that I'm wondering, are you telling me this or are you telling yourself this? I actually think we're seeing a new chapter of Cam Newton. Less Superman, more Iron Man. The first part of his career, all Superman. And Superman's big thing is he can do it himself. National champion, Heisman, Offensive Rookie of the Year, MVP. Most of the Panthers playbook is like, I don't know, give it to Cam, QB draw. Same as Superman. Superman, there's an asteroid coming to Earth. Like, I got it. I'll just go up and punch it and destroy it. Now I think we're in the Iron Man stage of Cam's career. He's building something. He's in the lab. He's got the metal, what's it called? The metal mask. It comes down. There's sparks flying out. September 27th, in Cam's Instagram, there was the confessional. And he's got the cigar and he's got the glass of brandy. Okay, that's September 27th. December 12th, he's got the walking boot on. Since then, there's been over 50 posts, all in black and white, and he's trying to get across three things. 1, I'm motivated. 2, I'm working out. 3, I love my family. I think Cam has turned a page. I think he's going to be amazing, and I think the best is yet to come.
Gregg, let me ask you a question. Underdog is not necessarily a bad term. We've seen it connected to Tom Brady. The Eagles adopted the underdog mentality. They rode it all the way to the Super Bowl. When you, as a player, hear underdog, do you look at it as a label? Is it a mentality? Is it a negative thing? From a player's perspective, where are you on this?
To answer your question directly, from a player's perspective, you look at it as disrespectful. From a team's perspective, you enjoy being an underdog. Why? Because they're counting you all out. They're saying basically, this team is one that we don't think can accomplish what they believe. And so when you say that to a team, it kind of galvanizes them. It kind of draws them all together to become one. When you say that to an individual, they tend to bark back. And so I agree 100% with what Nick said about Cam himself does not believe he is an underdog. Why? Because he's never been an underdog. He's always been one of the most prolific, talented individuals that step foot on a football field. When it comes to his talent and what he can provide, it's top notch. It has always been top notch. And to now say that he is potentially an underdog, it's a slap in the face to him personally because he's never not been the guy. And to Wild's point, I think he is entering into a new phase in his life. When you turn 30, when you start to become labeled differently and teams start to count you out, and you feel slightly, I shouldn't even call it a slight disrespect. When you feel disrespect, you start to approach things a little differently. And I think that's Cam's approach in this offseason. And when he goes into the next season, he's going to be lights out.
Well, then everything, Nick, that you guys have all described leads to Cam Newton being an underdog. Teams have sort of stopped believing in him, at least his own team did. There doesn't seem to be a vast market out there for him. He seems like he's kind of angry. Maybe he is an underdog. Has anything you've seen in the last couple of years leading up to where he is right now proven that point?
Well, I think angry is maybe the right word for it, Jenna. Not just angry that the franchise that drafted him, the franchise that he took to their only second Super Bowl appearance ever, he won the only league MVP the franchise has to its name, that they disrespected him in the way and the timing in which they released him. But now that he looks back on it, I think he does believe, man, you guys asked me to do everything, and the moment I needed a little bit of help, a little bit of give back, you got rid of me. When Cam Newton was drafted to the Carolina Panthers, they had a star wide receiver named Steve Smith. His first year with Cam, he had nearly 1,400 yards receiving. He's an arguable Hall of Fame caliber talent. After Steve Smith left, who did they surround him with? Years 2 through 8 of Cam's career, the leading receiver on the team was Greg Olsen 4 times, Christian McCaffrey once, and Devin Funchess once. Only once was the leading receiver actually a receiver. The receivers they drafted were Kaloa Polaris, Joe Adams, Kelvin Benjamin, who Cam brought as far as he possibly could have, and the moment he left Cam, he's out of the league. Devin Funchess, who was underachieved, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. They never surrounded him with legitimate weapons, which makes the level of success he had all the more impressive. There are only 5 quarterbacks who have more touchdowns through 125 career games. Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson, Brett Favre. All those guys, except for Russ, of course, won MVP, and all those guys have played in either great systems or with great players. You look at other quarterbacks that have won MVPs. Peyton had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. Then he had Demaryius Thomas. Brady had Moss. Then he had Welker. Then he had Gronk and Hernandez. Matt Ryan had Julio Jones. Cam's out there doing it with Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen, who is, while an excellent player, he's a tight end and he's been injured the last few years. And you wonder why his passing numbers aren't more jaw-dropping. So if I'm Cam, Jenna, I'm upset about the whole situation, about how I'm released, and then retroactively about them not putting the right receivers around me to reach my full potential.
So that's a really interesting point, Nick. Greg, do you think Cam Newton wasn't set up to succeed in Carolina?
It was evident. You look at any other quarterback in this league, and they have had, who's had some success, they pretty much had a level of consistency. Cam Newton's entire career has not been consistent. When you start with just his coaching staff, having a different coordinator, almost 5 or 6 different coordinators in his career, like, that's unprecedented. And so you ask someone to come in every single year and change what we're doing. Listen to this verbiage, take this, and now make it work. This is what Cam Newton was asked to do. And I'm just be honest. Anytime you've been drafted to a team and you've dedicated everything you have as a player, as an individual, your family, you're vested, you buy in, and then they check out on you, that's like being disrespectful. That's like walking into your house and you paid for this house, you purchased the things that are in this house, and then your significant other says, you gotta go. And you haven't done, and you might have not washed the dishes, or you didn't fold the clothes, or what? So I do all these other things. I check every single box. And the one time I forget to do something, or I'm unable to do it because of injury, you out. That's how we do it. That's how players feel disrespected. That's why players have this mentality of, I'm in it for myself. And fans don't understand it. They want to act like it's all about players being selfish. Well, it's teams that are selfish. Because one thing about organizations is they're going to look out for the benefit of themselves. But when a player does it, it's problematic and it's selfish and it's frowned upon. I don't like it. Cam Newton has every right to feel disrespected from a team that he gave everything to. From a team, as Nick alluded to, that he literally brought back to a level of consistency and just notoriety. Like, no one was thinking about the Carolina Panthers until Cam arrived back in town. So I'm all on Cam bandwagon here. He has every right to feel a certain way, however that way is, feel it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.